This is the Ninja AF300. It's Amazon UK's biggest selling air fryer, but is it actually big enough for your family? This, in comparison, is the AF400. It's 25% bigger, but do you really need to commit the extra money and worktop space for the larger capacity? One manufacturer, two air fryers, but which one is right for you? So first up, let's have a quick look at the physical differences between these two models. The AF300 has a 7.6 litre capacity, with each drawer holding 3.8 litres, and the AF400 has a 9.5 litre capacity, so each drawer is just a fraction under 1 litre larger than the 300. Now, obviously, I knew the 400 was bigger, but I wanted to see how that played out in the real world and whether it was really a consideration when you choose between these two models. Does it actually take up vital extra worktop space? And as you can see, there's barely any difference between the 400 and the 300. The 400 is only 4 centimetres wider and about 1 centimetre taller and deeper. The layout of the display on the 400 is different to the 300, but the choice of functions is exactly the same. I think I slightly prefer having the dial on the 400, but I could happily live without it. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been testing these two models side by side. But remember, this is not supposed to be a cooking video. This is purely about capacity and which of these two models is likely to best suit a family of 4. I think you'll make your own mind up as we go along, but I'll tell you my opinion at the end, and one really important factor to consider before you take the plunge with buying either of these models. So the first test for these two air fryers was to do a whole roast chicken in each. Both chickens weighed 1.5 kilograms and both fitted in the drawers. But we discovered the chicken in the 300 was too high in the drawer, and early on it started burning on top where it was making contact with the heating elements. So we had to pull it out, rejig it a bit and cut some extra off the legs to make it fit. The one in the 400 was absolutely fine. Considering these weren't particularly big chickens, this was a bit frustrating and a definite early tick in the box for the extra capacity you get with the 400. We also did roasted vegetables in both drawers, and there was lots of capacity in both models for those. Next up was checking the capacity in both drawers for individual chocolate puddings. Now, the recipe for these is linked in the description, but it was supposed to fill 4 individual pudding dishes to 3/4 full, and it did with these. So these are 8 centimetres across and are a pretty standard size. However, if you try and fit 4 of them in the 300 drawer, it was fine with 3, but once you get to the 4th, it becomes a little bit tight and you have to start trying to squeeze it in by overlapping the dishes and shuffling them around a bit and having one at a slight angle. Now, if you put a rack in there to try and stack them, the problem with that is that the top dishes are then too high in the air fryer and the top of them would actually be level with the edge of the drawers, so as they cooked and rose, they would burn on the heating element. However, if you tried those pudding basins in the 400 drawer, you can happily add all 4 of them with a little bit of space around them as well. Now, of course, you can downsize. So for comparison, I also tried some silicone ramekins, which are 7.5 centimetres wide. I only have 3 of them, but it will give you an idea. So as you can see, 4 would fit easily in the drawer of the 300. However, in the 400, you can comfortably fit 3 of them down the length of the drawer, so it would take 6 of those in total. I also did a cookie test. That was a great personal sacrifice. And the maximum I was able to bake in the larger drawer of the 400 was 6 cookies, and the maximum I could fit in the 300 was 5. Next up was the sausage test. Obviously, you can layer sausages on top of each other in the drawers, but I wanted to illustrate how many you could fit across the base of the drawer, just to give you an idea of capacity. In the 300, I managed to get 9 in, and with the 400, it took 12, which of course is usually 2 packs, so that works out quite well. We also tried out a side-by-side comparison cooking chicken fajitas. I measured out the chicken in 2 identical size bags, which were the recommended size for 4 portions. What I was particularly interested to see is whether the extra space in the 400 meant that the chicken cooked faster. And as you can see, when I pulled the drawers out halfway, there were a few, but not many bits of chicken which were uncooked in the 400. However, in the 300, it's noticeable that there's much more uncooked chicken. It's not a huge difference, but it is a difference nonetheless. I didn't really notice a difference in the cooking duration per se, but the 300 definitely needed more help moving the chicken around midway through to get the hot air circulating. Now, if you're thinking about cooking bread or loaf cakes in your air fryer, then here's a useful side-by-side comparison. This is a £1 loaf tin, which I bought from Amazon. There's a link to that in the description below. It's very cute, but probably more practical for baking cakes rather than bread. It's 8 centimetres across, 19 centimetres long, and 6 centimetres deep. It fits happily in the 300 with space free at both ends of the drawer and lots of space down the side, so you can lift it in and easily lift it out. And of course, there's even more room in the 400 with lots of space around it and lots of room for air to circulate. Now, if we step up to something like a £2 loaf tin, they're all slightly different sizes, but this one is 8.5 centimetres deep, 19 centimetres long, and 13 centimetres across. It will fit into this drawer for the 300, but it's hard up against the edges in every dimension, and there's very little space around it, which will make it tricky to remove when the drawer and the tin are both hot at the end of cooking. Now, in comparison, if you put that £2 tin in the 400 is only moderately bigger, but look how much easier it is to put in and remove. So, final conclusion on this. Yes, you can get away with the 300 for a family of 4. But in my opinion, if you're going to do any entertaining, you're going to very quickly wish that you had the 400. And ultimately, with the fact that it really isn't any larger and it doesn't take up any vital worktop space, it only comes down to price. And this one costs maybe £20 or £30 more. So if you have the budget, my recommendation is to step up to the 400. But one word of caution, if you go for the 400 and you buy third-party accessories like silicone baskets or racks, just check the size of them, because a lot of them are actually identical for the 300 and the 400. And obviously, if you put a silicone basket that fits the 300 into the 400, you cut out any of that bonus space which you've gained. Now, if you're watching this and thinking about getting the AF500, which holds an additional 800 millilitres and has a removable drawer divider, let me know in the comments below, because I might just do a comparison video featuring that next. Although probably best not to tell my husband, because he might flip out at the prospect of having 3 Ninja air fryers in the kitchen. Now, if you want a full in-depth look at the AF300, which is also useful for the 400, that is popping up on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.